Hello, this is Igoro, host of the Igoro Show, and you are listening to the Steve and Crypto Show. So keep your ears open and your mouth shut.
Hey, welcome to the Steve and Crypto Show presented by the SteveStrout.com. I'm Steve.
I'm Crypto Zoo, and I gotta give you a rhyme for this week. I know you would just hate if I didn't give you a rhyme for episode 48.
All right, I'll take that.
Yeah, okay.
That works. So that's 48 episodes that you guys have been coming back listening to us. I'm starting to think that you really like us. And if you do, if I'm correct in my assumption, maybe you would like to visit our Buy Me a Coffee page at buymeacoffee.com/SteveCrypto, where you could go and support the show by buying us a coffee. It's basically like a tipping system. And it all helps the show. It helps us upgrade. It helps us try to advertise. It helps us in every aspect of growing this show, and every little bit helps, every little bit counts, and every little bit is appreciated. So
Steve, you pretty much just summed up everything there when it comes to Buy Me a Coffee. But I'll just throw in that you did, but I'll throw in a big thank you to everyone who has contributed so far, and to all of our future contributors. Thank you in advance. We appreciate it.
So, last episode, we had a couple many guests coming on to promote what they're working on. We had Jax from the Hair for the Booze podcast. It's BOOS, not BOZE, but there is some BOZE involved sometimes. But yeah, she has a great show. She talks about all things horror and her collection, her collectibles, and go find her on Instagram. If you go back to the last episode description, there is a link to her show, I believe. We might have put one to Instagram. I don't remember. That was a week ago. It's such a long time, especially when you're old like me. But yeah, go follow her. Check out her awesome record collection. She has a sick collection of horror soundtracks that I'm very impressed with. Our other guest was James Taylor, who is the man behind the Grit City Comic Show, formerly known as the Jet City Comic Show, which actually it is Monday and the show just happened Saturday. And I spoke to him a little bit yesterday, and he told me that it went really well. Everybody was safe. Everybody had a good time. All the vendors and dealers and artists and everybody was happy with the turnout and how they did selling their stuff. And it was good. So I'm kind of bummed that we missed it, but we had a great conversation we recorded a great interview with this week's guest, which we'll get to in a little bit, and you guys will dig it, especially if you're a fan of the Creepshow series on Shudder. We have one of the writers. He's written episodes in all 3 seasons so far, a gentleman named Stephen Langford, who's got to tell us about his whole long career in writing TV shows and stuff. He's been around and done a lot of stuff, man.
Hell of a long resume.
Quite a resume.
Yeah, all different genres too. He doesn't just stick to one, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So have you been keeping up this week on your Halloween viewing? Or I know you get a little busy and
a little bit,
kids and stuff kind of.
Yeah, I'm trying to watch a movie every week, or at least something Halloween related. I'm sorry, every week, every day.
Right.
I've been trying to watch something Halloween related every day, and it hasn't been too hard to do. There's a lot of content out there.
Yeah.
throwing in some like Halloween sitcoms. I always enjoy that. Actually, another little loose connection to our guest today. Last night, I actually watched the vampire Halloween episode of Family Matters, which our guest was involved in, and just for old time's sake, I caught that.
We mentioned that a little bit in the conversation, which you guys got to hear here in a few minutes.
I think it's kind of funny that you and I coincidentally both watched Trick or Treat last night. We didn't talk about it. We didn't. No. We didn't ask the other one what you were watching, and that just happened.
Yeah, pretty much. So I went through. I've been doing something every day. I'm keeping up on it, doing well. Like sometimes if I'm busy, I'll put something on that I've watched multiple times, so that way, like, I could if I miss a minute or two here or there, it's all right. But so let's see. We went through last week. It's been what? The last how many days? What are we up to? Day 10? Today be day 11, which I haven't even picked today's movie
11.
yet.
11,
but that's it. The last week I watched the first Nightmare on Elm Street, classic, of course. I watched Bingo Hell on Amazon. It's pretty interesting. It's got a what the hell's the actor's name? Brake.
Richard
Brake. Yeah, it has him in it, and he plays a good, creepy, slummy bingo hall owner. It's on
pretty
Amazon
good at
now.
that role or a similar role.
He does it well. It's what else did I watch? Another indie horror comedy I watched, one called Hawk and Rev Vampire Slayers, which I've personally found to be hilarious because I am really into silly juvenile humor. It's just like comedy and lots of blood, and just you could tell there wasn't a huge budget, but these guys wrote a lot of good jokes and stuff for the film, so I enjoyed it. Another indie horror.
Check that out soon.
Yes, do it, because I've been in contact with those guys and they want to come hang out on the show. So I watched another indie horror, kind of like a little mini anthology. It's called 10/31 or October 31, whatever, however they decide they want to call it. But that was pretty good. It was well made. The stories were, they were decent. It wasn't perfect, of course. What can you expect? It was cool because I had a friend of mine, an actress named Jen Nangle, who is also a horror host by the name of Queen Malvolia, who's really cool. She's another friend of the show. We've done stuff like when I did my horror host series on the Steve Strout. I think she might have been the first one that we had on, but she'll be visiting us here soon too. The next I spent my Halloween viewing with The Last Drive-In, Joe Bob Briggs, and he did his double feature that he usually does. So I watched that. I counted it. It counts. He showed Angel about a hooker serial killer, not a hooker killing people, but a serial killer that kills hookers. And it was good though. It was a pretty good movie. Then he showed Terror Train that had young Jamie Lee Curtis in it. That was interesting. I sort of fell asleep towards the end of that one though, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch it on demand on Shudder. The classic next movie, Horror of Dracula, Christopher Lee, the scariest Count Dracula, hands down. And then you mentioned we both watched Trick or Treat last night, which is, it's growing like a cult following. You know what I mean? It seems like it's getting bigger every year. It's got like more popular the older it gets.
Yeah, we actually we briefly discussed it, I think, on the last episode. We were talking to Jax,
Yeah.
and just, talking about how it's kind of hard to believe that movie's 14, 15 years old already.
Yeah, was it like 07 or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Trick or Treat, that was a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. Not every year, not every October is good for Halloween releases. They try, but it seems like the last 10 years or so have been kind of hit or miss. Like they'll either hit us with a bunch of like ghost movies that are, I don't want to say PG-13 in a negative way, but
right.
For a lot of us, like the PG-13 horror films just are a little bit of a tease. They don't always cut it. So
they're fun.
I know they're trying to.
They have their place.
There's a few that are really good. They're well done. And yes, they do have their place. And I understand that they're trying to attract a younger audience to this type of film, this genre. But every October, I'm hoping for something really, really good. And it seems like, again, in the last 8-10 years, it's really been kind of iffy when it comes to the spooky season. But what I'm getting to is this year is just a treat. This October has been pretty good.
Mention treats. We should give a little mention to a new friend of ours, a new friend of the show, who happens to you mentioned, over time, things have not been that exciting for horror releases and stuff in October, and you think of like the nostalgia of being a kid and watching scary movies on Halloween. But we should mention, like I said, our new friend, and we're talking nostalgia. We should talk about our friend. We have a freaking ice cream truck in our town now, which was super cool.
Yeah, I bumped into her.
Yeah.
You actually got ice cream from her.
I got ice cream from her. Damn right, I got.
I should have got some ice cream,
but
I was thinking about that Choco Taco. I should have.
Yeah, that's what I got, man. That it was as good as they were as a kid. But let's plug her site and stuff here, because I mean, not everybody's from here, but maybe somebody out there hear it and be like, oh shit, we got an ice cream truck. Let me holler at her. Like,
right. Yeah. Our listeners are all over the place, but for anybody that is local, you can look for Northwest Cold Treats LLC on Facebook, and you can find her on there. That's the friendly ice cream lady. And if you have a little gathering, a birthday, a party, and an event of some sort, hit her up. And as long as she's able to come and park for 10-15 minutes, then you and your friends will be able to, take a trip back to being a kid again and go outside and get your ice cream, and then you can do a little dance with it, and then it falls, and then you're going to cry. They'll probably just pick it back up and kiss it and start eating it, right?
Yeah, you're doing the whole Eddie Murphy bit now. But, but yeah, she's cool, man. She seems like a really nice lady. She's cool.
Yeah.
It's good to see it. Like, I want to know if anybody else listening still has ice cream trucks in their neighborhood, because that's the shit. You know what I mean? She's a cool ice cream lady. She's not creepy like fucking the Clint Howard ice cream man or anything. But yeah. But you did mention not a lot of stuff coming out this month normally, but that changes this year because we got some good fucking shit coming out, especially this week. Later on in the week is the Day of the Dead series launching, I believe, on the 15th, the same day as Halloween Kills. I think the Day of the Dead is going to be on Sci-Fi, I believe. And it's supposed to be like a homage to the George A. Romero film from the 80s. That comes out on the 15th. Halloween Kills on the 15th. And I know also you're really excited about earlier this week. early in this week, the Chucky series.
That's right. Yeah, actually, we are recording this on Monday the 11th. And so by the time you listen to this, the Chucky series or episode 1 should be out. And the Scream 5 trailer should be out as well, because I believe that comes out tomorrow. So you have 2 things to look forward to tomorrow, and then you got 2 things to look forward to on Friday.
And since Chucky and Halloween stuff coming out,
I'm calling it Scream 5. Okay, I know it's the Scream trailer, but I'm calling it Scream 5. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can check that out tomorrow. You can watch Chucky, and then Friday, Peacock is going to crash when everybody watches Halloween Kills Friday night.
But make sure you are dressed to kill. I see that.
Oh.
By visiting our friends at Fright Rags.
Somebody here has been hanging out with the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
Getting all them good puns.
Yep.
So, yeah, Steve, why don't you tell us about our good friends at Fright Rags?
Well, they are actually restocking their popular Chucky design just in time for the premiere. That's dropping. When you listen to this, it'll have dropped yesterday. But you can get on there and order it now. And there's other exciting stuff they're bringing back this week, too.
That's right. They're bringing back some Halloween reprints, including lounge pants and their Haddonfield Heritage hat. You know you're going to get that. I mean, it may not arrive at your house by the time Halloween Kills comes out on Friday. I mean, that's, slim chance. But you could have it for when you watch it again, when you invite your friends to come over and have a little sleepover party or whatever. And, everybody can wear your horror pajamas, as I'm sure all of your friends wear horror pajamas, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah, we all do.
I was going to say I'd be wearing horror pajamas right now, but I'm not even wearing pants. Just kidding. Just kidding. That's kind of like horror pajamas right there, isn't it? But Anyway, let's get back on track here. Fright Rags has been bringing you the best in horror apparel and accessories since 2003, offering a wide range of products for your favorite creature features, slasher flicks, and cult classics. Their collections include John Carpenter's Halloween, Universal Monsters, Night of the Living Dead, Creepshow, which we'll be talking about in a few minutes, Twin Peaks, Evil Dead, and so many more.
All officially licensed and available soon or right now at fright-rags.com. Steve and Crypto Show listeners get 10% off whether you use code CRYPTO10. One word, CRYPTO10 at checkout. So please go to Fright Rags right now. Go get you some of them lounge pants, get the Haddonfield Heritage hat, get it all. Yeah.
Get it all and use the discount. Crypto10 is the code. If you want to check out these designs before they launch, head over to Fright Rags on their Instagram, because they post previews of all the stuff they put out, and give them a follow so you can keep up on all the latest stuff too. We'll let you know. We'll let you know, but keep up with them too.
And as these Halloween releases are reprints, that basically tells you that you never know what they're going to put back out. So while you're on Instagram, you can scroll, into the archives.
Yeah.
Right. Stay in the loop. Look at some of the old, releases that they put out and say, all right, they might put this out again. So I'm just going to keep an eye on them. You never know.
But don't wait. If you have a chance to get it now. If you see something you like, get it, because the stuff usually does sell out. They do bring it back every once in a while. Like in this case, they're bringing it back to coincide with the show and film releases and everything. But yeah, man, fright-rags.com. Those are our friends. We love those guys. They love us.
Crypto10 will save you a couple bucks at checkout.
It's all about saving money. Then you can use that couple bucks and go to buymeacoffee.com/SteveCrypto. I throw it in there. But hey, let's get to our guest of honor this week. We have a writer a screenwriter named Stephen Langford, and he has written, like I said, a few Creepshow episodes. So let's chat with him. Let's get to it.
Hello, friends. This is Dirk Manning, the writer and creator of comic book series such as Twisted Haunted High-On, Tales of Mystery, Nightmare World, Bear But Not Dead, Butts and Seats of Johnny Schiavone Story, Hope, and a ton of other stuff. And I just want to let you all know that I am super excited for you, because right now you have the distinct pleasure and honor of listening to the Stephen Crypto Show. So I'm going to get out of here so you can listen to the show and have fun, because this is just some of the best podcast discussion you're going to hear on the internet. So go listen, enjoy.
Hey, we are on the Stephen Crypto Show. This special guests. We have a writer, producer, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe you've done a little acting too.
No, directing.
Yeah. Okay. Writer, director, producer, Stephen Langford. He's right now he's currently one of the writers on the Creepshow series, which is why we invited him on, because Stephen Crypto love the creepy stuff, and we love the horror and all that good stuff. But his career spans back into my childhood. Like he had credits in like Family Matters, which is one of the shows we grew up on. Tiny Toons, another show. Later, it's probably more towards Crypto's childhood, but definitely just everything. He's worked on the show, you name it. We're excited to talk to him, especially about Creepshow. Like I said, it's one of the best shows on TV right now, I think, personally.
Thank you.
But hey, Thank you for joining us. How is your weekend going? How are you doing?
So I saw the Doobie Brothers last night.
Oh,
whoa,
nice.
They were at the Forum, and it was funny. So my wife said, "Oh, we got free tickets to go see the Doobie Brothers," and I was going, and I'm terrible with the bands, and I was going, "Well, wait a minute. I know the name, I know the singer, but I can't remember I couldn't say what the songs were." And then when they did their act, they did a lot of the songs that you wouldn't necessarily know. So I was like kind of panicking, like, "Oh, wait a minute, maybe I don't know any of their songs." But then they get to the last third, and they just blow the house down with every hit they did, and it was great.
That's when a band's like, "Oh, they played that song." Like, yeah,
He's like, "What's that? What's the song? Whose song?"
That's them. Okay,
that's them. But it is funny because you go, sometimes you just know the music and don't necessarily know who it is. You just know, I love this song, but they're not always as identified as other groups.
Right.
Was it just the Doobie Brothers? Was it just them by themselves?
It was Mike McDonald, Tom Johnston. I'm not an expert in the Doobie Brothers, but a lot of them were there.
Right.
They were
pretty good reunion, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. They've been back to touring. Yeah.
Right. That's I've been hearing ads on the radio for their tour, and they play clips of all these songs. And I, like you said, I didn't know. I couldn't have told you a Doobie Brothers song, but then they played all these clips, and I was like, "Oh, I love that song. I know that one. That's a good one." Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's cool.
Let's sit here going, I got free tickets. My friend got them, and I don't want to say I'm really confused. That like I don't know what I'm hearing. It's a good band, and you start hearing hints of like certain, licks and things. You go, well, that seems familiar. Let's say that style they're playing is like going, that's familiar. This voice is familiar to me. But I was like going, it wasn't until they did like, okay, they went to their 7 or 8 big hits. You go, oh wow, okay.
I do know this band.
I know it really, really well.
Well, hopefully you didn't have too much fun last night, and you're feeling all right.
No, I'm fine. It was just funny because there was a couple next to us, and we were like on the floor. We were on the floor, and they kept getting up and getting these drinks, and this is not cheap. It's like a beer for $15 in a cup, and they must have gone up 7-8 times. But like it's going back and forth. Like,
that's crazy.
It's an expensive hangover.
Yeah, that was like.
You kind of gotta like to go to a concert nowadays. You kind of gotta have like a tailgate party, like a football game.
Yeah, well, this is inside the forum, so you can't do that.
Right.
You're inside, but it was like we got there. It said $45 for parking.
Oh, man.
Ooh. Wow.
That made up for the free ticket. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So
yeah, well, every once in a while you got to splurge and get out and have a good time, though.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. I mean, the big crowd factor kind of still sketches me out a little bit, but
I mean, most people were wearing masks, and virus has gotten kind of low in LA County. It's been staying pretty low.
Yeah.
So that's been, the saving grace. But I was like, there's a lot of virus that would have gone.
Yeah. I just imagine being at the concert and everybody with the mask and having a big muffled sing along. I don't know.
Well, that's basically what happened. Yeah. So.
Oh man, but that's good. It sounds like you enjoyed it.
The good part about that whole idea is that you can have that mask on. You might not remember all the words, but you can just kind of like hum the tune or whatever.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's good enough. Good enough.
Close enough. So, before we dig into the main reason we wanted to chat, Creepshow, let's hear a little bit about the background. How did you get started in showbiz?
Well, I was the kid who made films, Super 8 films back when there was Super 8, when I was 14. And what kind of started me was, strangely enough, was Star Trek. I had gotten into it when it went into reruns. There were books about it, and I was reading this book on the making of it, and I was reading about Roddenberry writing the pilot and writing the outline. And I remember looking at the outline and going, wait a minute, I could do that. I just said I could do that. So I started doing it. And, I was writing 100-page screenplays when I was 15, which of course made my parents go, what's going on here? This is a little strange. This is not like, so I was just into it. And by the time I went to high school, I was always someone who could figure out a way to position myself, because I had no connection to the business whatsoever. So they had internships in in Massachusetts. And I found out the Massachusetts Film Bureau, which basically catered to the film companies coming in to shoot, had a internship. So I got an internship and I got to go to set when I was like, 17 or something like that. And the first set I was on Coma with Michael Douglas starring in it and Michael Crichton directing it. So then the location manager said, do you do PA work? I'd never done it. And I said, sure. So
what's that mean? Yeah.
I was like, yeah, sure. And so, because I saw them, I'm looking, watching everything's going on, of course. And they said, and then she calls me up. I'm in Emerson College at the time. So we're doing 8 days of the sequel to Love Story, Oliver's Story. And I was like, great. And I worked on the film, and it's where my first kind of like, am I really here kind of a thing, this sort of out of this body thing where Ryan O'Neal is up a hill in his car. He's supposed to drive down, hit a mark. And I'm supposed to, radio that he's hit the mark or whatever to the AD. And I'm sitting there and the car comes down. They yell cut. And then Ryan O'Neal says to me, why don't you get in? We'll go back up. And I'm sitting there going, okay, now it's Ryan O'Neal. Not as big a deal today, but this is like after Barry Lyndon, and this is like, okay, I'm riding in a car with a movie star. I'm a high school student. What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah,
it's just like, that was my first one. I was like, this is just strange. just strange. It was like, wow, okay. And you learn the politics of the business, the set, really very quickly. Be very careful what you say and all that kind of stuff. So I stayed at Emerson. I worked on a lot of movies. And then during college, the best being The Verdict with Paul Newman. That was the best one. And then I came out. A friend of mine got me an assistant job on a show called Silver Spoon. So I was ensconced at Universal. And one memory of that was that the Buck Rogers mock-up was sitting above my office for years. There's a plywood mock-up of this Buck Rogers spaceship. And I remember the day they plowed it away. This thing that must be what it would have been worth, God knows how much money today. Oh, yeah. They plowed it out. They needed a parking space. But so I worked there and working on the show as a writer eventually. I also had done that the summer, I can't remember which summer it was, but that's when I did Ewoks with Paul. I wrote an episode of Ewoks. It's my first script, the first produced script. Yeah, so that was cool. He was working up at Lucasfilm. So he gave me my first break. And then I did a bunch of sitcoms. Then I worked on a staff at Silver Spoons, and then went through a number of different shows. One had Matthew Perry on him before he was a big deal, but you kind of knew Matthew Perry from Friends, and you knew he was going to be a big deal. You could just tell. Even at age 18, he was, he had the stuff. So. I did most of that. I did, Family Matters, of course. That was the big one. But the really well Family Matters working at Warner Brothers was what you were around. You'd see Batman being filmed. It's like you walk on a soundstage, you find the Batmobile just sitting there. You could sit in it, just sitting there. Wow. And then, that's awesome. And then ER was next to us. And I had the strange things that they came in next to our soundstage, and then George Clooney would come in. He was just a working actor. He goes, "Hey, who are you?" And I said, "I'm Steve." "I'm George," he says. "Oh, glad welcome to the lot," I just said. So every morning it was like, "Hey, Steve. Hey, George. How you doing?" And then later when he's Batman, he's just like hanging out with my family, and I think my daughter pissed on the costume. I don't remember. But it was,
I think a lot of us were not fond of that costume, anyways.
It was. I know Joe. I worked on one of Joel Schumacher's movies. He's a nice guy, but I remember we went out to see. We played hooky from Family Matters. So I had to go see the Batman. Which Batman? The first, whichever one that was, Batman and Robin. I think, I'm not sure. But I remember watching the movie, saying to myself, I think I'd rather be in the writer's room right now, because it was just like that one just was wow.
Yeah, I got to say, as a kid, when I was little, I loved those Schumacher films, like those were my favorites of the vampires or of the Batman series.
Right.
But as you get older, you start like becoming more and more familiar with the character and the vibe of the whole line itself, and those are still fun. But I think I started gaining interest in like just the darker side of comics, as I got older.
Yeah. So that was part of the fun. We had Hook. I saw Hook being filmed. A lot of film history going on. Dracula and Coppola was there, and Spielberg was there, and so that was all kind of going on around. While I was doing the show, it was quite because we were also at the Sony lot at one point. So it was cool being around all of it, and I just kept working. But ultimately, the thing the ironic thing was I wasn't really doing the thing that I'd set out to do, which was science fiction and horror. That really hadn't happened. I'd gone off and made a movie, and where I made this movie, and this distributor picked it up. The distributor happened to have the rights to Creepshow, And so Robert Duddleson and Jim Duddleson, the brothers, and I became fast friends with them over the years. And Robert and I did a company where we made like low budget independent films, basically films that were filling needs for different distributors. And one point he finally got to set up the deal, for Creepshow. And I said, so he wanted me to pitch to it. And he says, well, you need to send something in today. Right. And so Paul and I got together and we batted out like about 8 ideas. And I can't remember what day of the week it was, but we're over at his place now. We built these things out. And I'm in Burbank. We're in Burbank at the time. And we emailed them to the executive producers. And I get in my car and I drive up to the freeway. And before I'm on the ramp up, and the executive producer called me. He goes, "Oh my God, these are great. We're going to send them to blah, blah." Okay, good. And then I'm driving halfway home to Tarzana. I get another call. So-and-so loves them too. We're sending them to the showrunner, sending to Greg Nicotero. And then I get to the off-ramp at Reseda, and the phone rings again. And they said, "Oh, we're buying 2. All in the space of like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, that happened fast. Yeah.
And ironically, the two on that initial list were made. Skin Crawlers and Right Snuff were in the first list of stories.
Wow, that's cool. Not to circle back too far, but you mentioned Paul Dini, who's known for the Batman animated series and everything. How did the relationship with him? I know you worked with him a lot. How did that happen?
We went to college together.
Oh, okay.
We were roommates in college.
Nice.
We were roommates in college in Cambridge. We were in Cambridge, and we had he left for LA before I did. And then we, briefly did stuff together, but then the half-hour thing just for me just kept taking off, and it was just like, of course we were always hanging out together. We had for many, many years. So I've known Paul for forever.
Right. Nice. So you have a lot of stuff you worked on leading up to Creepshow was kind of lean more towards comedy, maybe a little dramatic. How does your writing process differ between writing comedy and writing like horror stuff and sci-fi, like on Creepshow?
Well, yeah, I mean the comedy stuff, you kind of look for what I call a comic engine of why something is funny. What is that thing that's going to give you spit jokes out and gags out? You take a, it's like it's older film. Everyone's seen Some Like It Hot, or I'm going to say Tootsie. Tootsie's a better example of, okay, a guy wants to be an actor, can't get the part, dresses up as a woman and gets the part, and now acting in a soap opera. So then all these organic comedic bits happen. It's like if you're dressed as a woman, but you fall in love with your female co-star, how does that work out? So that's kind of like you're looking at it, or that's the best way comedy works, when it's like it's you've positioned the pieces best in a way that they keep giving you gifts, comedic gifts. With horror, well, it's like if the 3 that we did had 3 kind of intents to them. They all just ran, how they came about, sort of random. Well, the Skin Crawlers came about because Paul had been an adventurer in the day. He would go to places like Indonesia. He'd go to places I would never go, but he'd go to the jungles and swamps, and and he had come wading through some swamp or something, and he came out and he found little bites on his arms. And what struck him then was, he said, I know what they took out, but what did they put in? And that became when the subject, he always had thought about that all the time. And then when this movie came to Creepshow, I said, oh, that's great. And Skin Crawlers was more. The Right Snuff was one of the ones that just literally popped in my head. It's like, boom, I'm writing and this just came out. Don't know where it came from, but it became the process there was figuring out what was driving. This was a case where we're going, okay, now we really have to know what is driving, what's driving him to go off the deep end in that story. And the reference point was actually Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon. There was some stuff about how his father was pushing him to be the first man on the moon at the time it was announced, and he was kind of interfering, and he was this big general. And I said, oh, and then I remember the Buzz Aldrin had some sort of breakdown after he returned. I go, okay, that's interesting. This is father pressure. That's we'll utilize that. So sometimes we'll just take pieces of things that we've heard about or read about and expound on and realize, oh yeah, that really helps. And I also felt that its own way, it's its own Easter egg, a Stephen King Easter egg, in that sense of the really damaged person, the person that becomes the monster because they're damaged. Not that they set out to be a monster, but they were damaged somewhere along the way that they became one. So I think our process is we try to find, we do try to find the deeper meaning in things. And also I think there was a kind of collective, we really like to do a Twilight Zone. This is the thing. So you could watch that episode and you could hear Rod Serling at the end, talking. And that was like very cool. And it was also for me, I've always been into science fiction, space science fiction. And it was like, for me at this point, it was like, oh my God, it finally happened, moment. So that was terrific. But and then of course the process, we develop these stories with Greg, and it's kind of like writing horror as jazz. It's just sort of the three of us talking and referencing, and the thing is, it's all shorthand because like Greg might say, that scene in Aliens. Oh yeah, it's like we all know what we're talking about because we use these references as solutions to problems of it's like, oh, how did they? And it may be simply as a blocking thing or something as simple, something mundane, but we'll usually go to these references like that. But it's fun because it's like we all know them, and we go in and they were like, we'll be like on screen and Greg's popping up pictures of, hey, look at this, remember this thing? Oh yeah, that kind of look. And then of course after we were done, he began adding his own tones but things that I'm going, there was a whole Andromeda Strain feel to the set, which I've seen the movie like 10 times. I go, oh yeah, great. And that's the thing, you realize that collectively the three of us have seen all these things multiple times.
Right. You see that a lot in the Creepshow episodes too. Anyway, you know what I mean? Like they're all very influenced.
Yeah, I mean, with ours, I can speak to the three. It's like, I would say that the first one was really like, let's do what Creepshow, the movie, kind of as close to that feel as that we can think of story. And then it was sort of like, Right Stuff was a lot of things. It was a lot of like, hey, we love 2001 stuff and Andromeda Strain, but again, at the core of it is the emotional thing. What's wrong with this character? And then the episode that I have a hardest time pronouncing, The Last Subaraya, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, that one was, the process on that was quite interesting. I'm looking down because I needed some information to see what you see here. I believe, well, Paul was obsessed with this. He gets obsessed. He goes full bore into something. He knows, like, the books. The Japanese horror artist in the 18th century. I think the name was Yoshitoshi. That's what I have written down here. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but he was he'd write these horrifying, he'd make these horrifying paintings, and they became quite popular. And so he knew a lot about them. And we were like, he would go on and go on and go on. But we'd also was in that case, we're going, we had always toyed with the character of the narcissist. Yeah, really. And then the other factor was, again, the rules that were there. We want to do the narcissist, the wealthy narcissist, but we also felt, well, this time we want to go, okay, this time we want to scare the audience. We want the audience to really see something and go, oh shit, oh, that's creepy. I mean, that really was sort of like, we said, yeah, this time we want to have, we grossed you out the first time. Hopefully make people really like think hard in the second one, but this one we wanted to really scare you, but also we wanted to drill down on this character. And I think we really drilled down. And it was just like, we just are going, well, let's just keep making him worse by telling us his truth. And he's completely telling his truth. And it's horrible of what he delights in. So I remember someone on the Twitter had posted, they posted his picture and they said, I hate this guy. I'm hoping he dies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the horror genre is so good at doing that for us, huh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this was kind of like what we're going, let's double and triple down, because it's like, this isn't a guy that's like this because his parents did something to him. He likes being like this. He embraces being like this. And so there's a lot of, the trick for us is to deal with horror on multiple layers, where you're giving a human story, you're making a point, you're scaring, especially in this case. And that was fun. That was, that was the fun thing, was figuring out, well, how does this scare work? How does this, I think we probably, I don't know, I think we, whereas The Right Snuff probably had the most Easter eggs we wrote in. I think we were so concentrated on the script. I don't know if we got that many in this one. The director may have, but I don't know.
I wanted to ask about the paintings in The Last Subaraya. So, did you guys collect them from different artists? Did they have just one artist that created them for the show?
There's so many artists that work on the show. There's no shortage of who did it. There's no shortage of people that could do it. But it's that was, because again, the exciting thing for us was, okay, we know this is a Japanese-centric horror story because of the source. So all we can do as writers is say, the creature does this, the creature does that. The creature is on the ceiling, ready to jump down. All the, you run out the door and there's the creature. So we were like and figure the logic of, it's sort of like figuring out the logic of the xenomorph and the alien. You got to figure out the logic of what are the principles of this creature? And that's one of the things in the story when he realizes, oh, I can kill it. That gives you that nice bend, like, oh, okay, he's fighting back now. But I think the ironic thing is you go, this guy you hate is now playing the hero role. So, but you're going, it just gets your going like, whoa, what's going on here? This guy, this is like, I want to see this battle, but do I really want him to win?
Yeah.
And you don't. So that's why it's just so many, we were able to get a lot of misleads in there, which I was very happy about. But I will all say in all three cases, without question, the feeling of seeing these things that you were typing, that we were just figuring out at lunch somewhere, and them coming to this kind of reality that Greg and his team put together, it's like a miracle for us. And it's frankly, like I would say, in my career, probably the most shocking. Kind of like, whoa,
right?
That is there permanently.
Yeah, you can imagine it almost goes beyond what you're envisioning too when you're writing it.
Oh, spot on. Yeah. Yes, that's spot on. When we did Skin Crawlers, I remember we were typing the finale, and I remember feeling like I'm a naughty little boy. I feel like I'm just doing really naughty, bad things. And then I was going, and I went to set. I saw them setting. I saw a little bit of it, but I was sitting here going, I still can't in my head imagine what this is going to be like, because in their own way, what they're doing is you write that script, but then everybody else is sort of writing on the film in a way. There's little details of like that. Oh, the director put in that supports
it's like their interpretation with their art.
It's layers and layers and layers and layers, and you get so many more layers in a horror thing that in a horror piece that it's like it's really mind-blowing every time, because you can imagine it. And I would say we imagined Last Subaraya very close to what you saw, but still you go, whoa, damn, that's crazy.
Has there been an instance where you wrote something and then you see it on screen and be like, I wrote that? Like, that's like
that. Yes, that's well, what's funny was I was watching this documentary about Paul McCartney, and he was going with this record producer, and they were going over the Beatles music. And he did say at one point, there were times you're like going, he says, those guys are pretty good. Yeah, you do get that point of where you go, when it's, especially with distance and time, and you do, with distance and time, you're not as aware of the work you did because you're off to something else, other project. But, it's like you do often go, who wrote that? How'd that happen? Yeah, I think that's probably pretty common. I think oftentimes actors do the exact opposite, because they're so precise in what they have to do. They see things later on. A lot of them don't watch through stuff. They treat it more like, well, I'm a cobbler making a shoe, and I made the shoe, and the shoe's done, and off I go.
In the movie business, we're used to, well, and a lot of films have the happy ending. You have the action, and then they tie it up with a bow, and everything's good at the end. In horror, sometimes we get that. There's the hint that they might come back again, for a scare down the road or whatever. But I've noticed in Creepshow, there really is no happy ending. Like almost every episode, has that.
No.
Feeling.
Yeah, it's like.
So do you enjoy writing that way? You enjoy that, not having to like make everything nice and pretty at the end?
Yeah, well, that's that's where you're going. You're going. That's where you're going. The closest to a happy ending was Skin Crawlers for our main character, because he didn't die.
Right.
But still, you're going, a lot of innocent people died, really. They didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
It's I would say it probably is the first time where the happy ending has not been,
present.
That's not really an issue. I mean, you're really, your issue is to take people and blow their minds with something pretty out of this world. That's the fundamental job. And many horror films are, hey, everybody's screwed in this thing. That's it. But I think for Paul and I, it's like we want to say if everyone's screwed, we want to know why and the how and what was the meaning of it. It's not enough just doing it. It's like it just seems like you want to approach it with more depth. It's like when we split the pitches in for the third season, I mean, Greg jumped at that. He said he got it. And was like, and said, yeah, we're doing this one. And because it just was, you could just see, oh, this is a perfect collision. It's a perfect horrible collision that's and that was a great set they built. I love the set. It was just like and it was my funny thing is my wife has a habit of predicting things in episodes of TV shows I watch. And she, and oftentimes she's right, but we're watching the show and she goes, oh, I know what's going to happen. She goes, looks over me and goes, oh, that's right. You know what happens. I said, yeah, and it's not that.
Part of you is probably like, we just quiet down and just watch.
It was actually, actually meant something to me because I felt like she's really into this. Because when she's into it, good. She's like trying to figure it out. It's like, oh, man, this is happening. I'm like, they started laughing because it was a reflex that she just does. It's like, well, the writer's sitting next to you and he can tell you what's going to happen. What is going to happen or not going to happen.
It's got to be a good.
Oh, I just said, isn't that predictable, really?
Oh, right. I say it's got to be a good feeling to actually see somebody watching your stuff and see them be like that riveting to them. And
I mean, it's also, one of the things is also, it means like I on Twitter and I'll see the Walter Shaw wrote a really great piece on The Decider about it. And it's like, you go, whoa, this is like, we're writing these really like almost like papers rather than reviews on the, getting into the really like, okay, I guess this really hit with them, and we were kind of thrilled by that because it's just, that we're glad that we've given the opportunity to do these and that they seem to have some kind of an impact. So when I see that kind of stuff, I kind of know, I sort of go, oh, okay, if this many people are saying that, then probably it's pretty popular. I would imagine this one is pretty popular. So, and I never know. I can watch it and go, yeah, this should be popular, but you never know what a reaction is going to be until it actually happens.
Right. Now, do you notice, what you mentioned, the review that the gentleman wrote, you said it felt like a paper and stuff. Do you feel you get a lot more of that kind of reaction from the horror community than you would with comedy? Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, there's the horror community actually is very, I have to say, is very thoughtful.
Yeah.
They have great manners.
They're very. I like to feel like we're really smart and really invested in the.
They're very respectful.
Yes.
They're very respectful. It's like because when I got into on Twitter, and then I had a number of associates that were in comic books, and animation, and they were giving me all these warnings about this and that, because that's a whole different crowd, I guess. I don't know much about it, but I've just found everyone's been very, very nice and complimentary, and no one's out there trying to get into a fight. It's just like I said, okay, So that's what I just found it was interesting. It was like that's very pleasant.
Right. Most of us are very appreciative of people like yourself that put your heart and your passion and love into projects like this, like Creepshow or whatever you're working on. So yeah, it's nice to have such a supportive community.
Yeah, because I understand, in the world of comedy writing, there is no real community to speak of. So this is for Paul. Of course, he's been had this kind of connection for most of his career. For me, it's only been since the show's been on that I'm going, oh, this is different. This is like and it's great because it's sort of like it's what I really, really wanted to do. And I'm doing it now, and that's terrific, and it's opening some interesting doors, so it's cool.
So
go ahead.
You mentioned opening doors. Is there any more plans for? I know you probably can't say much about Creepshow yet, but maybe some more horror projects popping up.
There have been some calls. It's probably too early to say, but since we're just like in a process with this one company we're talking to, who seem pretty motivated. So, we'll see what happens there. There's a big science fiction project that's got a pretty big director on, that may be coming together, and with an interesting intellectual property behind it. And that was like a quite an experience writing it, because it's like one of those things where you go like the originator of the property had passed away, and it was one of those actually sort of the Creepshow kind of moments of like going, I feel like I'm writing this, but I feel like I'm having help. Like it was like, because like I finished the thing, and then the reaction to the script, my partner Zach and I had on that one it was literally, I had this one person who was making notes, and as they had the red pen, and I'm reading the notes, and I watch as the notes get smaller and smaller, and the pen just been thrown away. He's reading, and I go, oh, I got him. And then everyone's like going, yeah, this is, and so I was in my office. I think I'd finished the script, and I heard something thump on the floor, like someone had dropped like something fairly heavy on the floor. And I looked around and I go, oh, there's nothing here. And I'm going, well, maybe. It was just that the script it just had its own power. So we'll see what happens with that. So there's that, and I'm working on a fantasy project with another company. They finished a draft of that. They're going to give us notes on that, and I have finished a science fiction novel called The Stars of My Damnation, and I'm talking to a publisher who's interested. And ironically, it was like I'd set out to wanting to get a independent science fiction publisher for it. And as I learned more about Twitter, I said, this is interesting. I see these publishers following me. I'm going to ask one of them if they want to read the book. So I pushed the thing, and I said, yes. They go, okay, what's your email? And then we sort of, it's like, oh, okay. So I'm going, yeah. As I say, usually when I do something, when I'm on something, at least for me, like Creepshow, it leads to other things. I can look at each show I did and how, I think Silver Spoons probably led to the most, because I ended up doing that show, the Matthew Perry show, because of it. I did Family Matters because of it, and I did Malcolm and Eddie because of it. So like like 5 different shows because of one show, because of that one, pushed me through that many things. But each thing I've done has been like, even the independent film I made put me in connection with Creepshow. And it also got me into the TV series to work on. So it's like, it tends to be that like there's something, it generates something. You do something, it generates something for myself. But now it's sort of like it's going into some interesting avenues, and it's you can kind of tell when people you say something and they get very, 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 very excited, and they go, they want to have meetings right away, and it's like, oh, okay, there's some energy here. You can just read the energy in the room, and you also can tell things when something like kind of slams down the door, like in a boom. You go like, oh yeah, this ain't. There's something that's like it's like you're going. Because then I go back and I realize I've been trying to get certain things done over the years and never get them done, but yet I come up with some new thing and suddenly they're like, oh yeah, let's do this. So it's like, it's some things I just believe there's things that want to get made and things that don't want to get made.
Right.
I think one of the best cases in point is the Terry Gilliam movie about the Man of La Mancha movie that he was going to make with Johnny Depp. Like there's a whole documentary about him trying to make this movie. He didn't get made. And it was just like, you couldn't believe it was the storms and everything going wrong. I mean, just nightmares, actors dying, whatever. It was like the film didn't want to get made. And then he made the film, and then it came to con, and then the producer sued and it became a whole mess. And it's just like, it was one of those things where some things just the movie gods are against you,
Right.
Hey, so I wanted to jump back to Family Matters for a minute. So it's one of my favorite shows growing up. I loved it, especially the Halloween episodes. So, knowing that you dig horror like we do, did you favor, when it came time to start writing for those and working on the...
Well, the thing was that show was the showrunner and a few of us were big horror and science fiction fans, as you might have noticed.
Yep. Yeah.
There was a thing with us. We had the, so when we did Stevel, which turned out to be, we did Stevel and Stevel 2, which of course is Steve Urkel as an evil puppet. So I'm like, okay, great. So what we did was we said, we're doing Stevel 2, and this was one of the most fun things was we have an audience of 250 people. We have them up in the, sitting in there in the bleachers. And they said, well, let's run Stevel 1 on the monitors before we begin shooting Stevel 2. So we're running it up there. And the audience is like cringing and scared, like they're screaming and all of a sudden I'm like going, oh, this is great. This is hysterical. It actually works like a horror movie. Yeah. Oh my God. It's like, they were just like, it was the most fun watching them because they were just having a great, but they were like, we were really genuinely scaring the pants off them. And it was like, oh, that was fun. And then we go right into Stevel 2 and more of the same, but we had never, our audience sees it filmed, but they see it filmed in chunks and bits and pieces. But to see it all packaged together, it was like, oh, that's pretty fun. That's the thing where you go, you can see the enticement of like, boy, yeah, writing a horror movie, that's pretty cool if you can do that. If you can get a whole audience to lurch, or sweat or go, oh my God,
Yeah.
That's quite fun. Yeah.
It makes me wish I had been around back in the old days when they'd use all like the gimmicks, like William Castle stuff, like the gimmicks in the theaters and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's I only went through one gimmick, which was smell-o-vision, but it was this gag thing they did with one of John Waters' movies, and they had a card they would give you, and it was one of the Vine's movies, blanking. It's the famous one. It became like it remade a few times, and I think New Line remade it as a big movie with Amanda Bynes was in it, and John Travolta was in it, and Christopher Walken was in it.
Oh, Hairspray. Is that the
Hairspray?
one?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Hairspray. Was it Hairspray?
No, maybe not.
Maybe I don't know.
There was one. It was. No, I think it was before Hairspray.
People are gonna be listening and be like, "You guys, it's an easy one."
I know. Somebody's at home yelling this
I'm
right
sure
now.
there's probably a John
Come on,
Waters fan
guys.
listening. Yeah, disappointed in the Stephen Crypto.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a mostly horror show. Give us a break.
Could have been Hairspray. Let's go with that John Waters film.
But it was a little card. What happened in the movie theater was she'd be smelling, like sniffing at something, and then they blink a number 6, and you'd scratch the card, and you'd smell whatever she was smelling. That was that was the extent of that. It was like, my understanding of the real smell-o-vision was that the problem with it was you couldn't get the smells out in time,
right,
for the next one.
Could you imagine if they did Smell-O-Vision Family Matters? It'd just be cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese
I did go to Sensorama. That I did experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
where they had these big speakers, and it was like Earthquake was the movie, and it was effective actually because they turned them way up, and
you felt it. Yeah.
You felt it. Yeah, you felt the vibrations.
Right.
Yeah, it turned out there weren't that many movies that required that effect.
Yeah. I think the only thing I've done is 3D movies, which I didn't really appeal to me that much, but those were the good days when going to the movies was an event more than just going to the movie, But, back to your stuff. When you write an episode, like you mentioned being on set, so is that a normal thing? So you write your episode, send it in, or do they bring you on set most of the time to kind of
when I'm on staff on a show, I'm on set, but these were written, and plus because of COVID, we couldn't. I could have. I wasn't allowed to go to set on the last 2 because of COVID restrictions. It wasn't an option.
Right. So when you put together an episode, do they just contact and say, pitch us some ideas, or do they say, we have this idea, turn it into a story?
No, Paul and I just generate a bunch of stories, and they pick from that list. We just generate a bunch of stories, and then they just go. And then Greg, Paul, and I got on the phone, and we start yakking and riffing on how to do it
without giving anything away. Out of all of the stories and ideas that haven't been used that you guys have come up with for Creepshow, have you taken any of those and tried to make something new, off on the side? Have you tried to turn them into something, not Creepshow related?
Not really, no. Because there's usually generally I think we did about approximately 20 ideas between the seasons, something like that, something like around 20. And they ended up buying 4, and the 4th one we couldn't figure out how to physically do it, so we just abandoned that one. But also keep in mind, it's like when we did Skin Crawlers, they bought another one in Skin Crawlers, and Skin Crawlers got made, the other one didn't. And then when the second season got picked up, they immediately bought the right stuff from the first season pitches. So they don't necessarily, they do go back and look, so I don't really talk about those because they've gone back and looked before. So you know,
okay.
Yes, like and basically we like to keep, they like to keep these things, under lock and key until the time comes out. But you never know. I mean, there's just sometimes where they're like, we'll get a call from Greg and say, "Hey, what did you think about? Did you think about a so and so?" And I say, "Oh yeah, it's over here."
Yeah, but, I was just thinking, I'd hate for you to write up something really good that you're passionate about and then have it be lost. Like, well, shit, I can't use that, down the road. So that's why I was thinking about it.
It's the thing is that each one of the things or projects that like Paul and I would work on is a significant amount of work. So it's like you could have a lot of ideas, but you're not going to be able to get to really effectively try to set up 20 ideas. It's not likely. There are certain ones that go, that you work on that you just have to, you're spending time with that, and then it gets intensive. And in addition to the other things like taking out the garbage, all that kind of stuff, fun stuff. It's just like it's just a limitation. And some things you go, well, I mean, when pitching ideas, you're taking pot shots. You're going, well, maybe this will work. And in the case of The Right Snuff, Greg knew how to do something we hadn't figured out. And he'd figured it out over the break of, oh, you do it like this. I said, I know how to do this. And I said, oh, okay, great. So then we did it, and we did that, and that became what it became. But so that's basically it with that.
Right. Okay, well, we're getting close on time. We've taken enough of your time, I believe. I have one quick little question about the Subaraya episode. The name Subaraya, is it based on the Godzilla Ultraman?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Well, because that's kind of the original title was The Last Kikuchi.
Right.
And there were some that said, well, that sounds a little anatomical.
Yeah.
It's a little, and like, yeah, I don't know where that name came from, but we didn't argue the point. And Greg said, let's do Subaraya. And we said, yeah, that's good.
Right. Yeah. That sounds a lot cooler than
Kikuchi. I think it's
no one's gonna feel weird about that one.
No one's gonna feel weird about that one. The first one was like, yeah, like, oh, the thing is that when you're writing, it's a lot of it is about fixing mistakes before you see them. There's just things you just want to make sure that, oh, that's a mistake. You don't want to see that. No, fix that, because that doesn't make sense. Like we had the balance of Giza and the billionaire and how you write that relationship. It's a very careful thing. You don't want to let it fall into an abusive situation. You got to give her due. So it's a very difficult one to play because of the financial arrangement he's made. But certainly what we think we did was we showed, well, this is, now that he's revealed the deepness of who he is, it allows you to say, oh, screw this. I'm not doing this anymore. So it's like, yeah, there's a very, very, you're looking at little fine edges to get these things right.
Right. And you got to convey all this and show all this in just a short time too.
Oh yeah.
Build this whole story that could almost be a feature film in, what is it, a 15-minute, 20 minute? Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's pretty impressive. Well, I mean, I've done that my whole career, right. I know, and Rod Serling, did it, Twilight Zone, exceptionally well.
Oh yeah.
You go in, it's just I remember on Skin Crawlers, one of the producers apologized to me and said, "Oh, we didn't get to the ending stage the way you wanted to." And I said, "Does the creature get killed?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "That's the way I wanted it." I know it's like it's too expensive to have someone run across the street and go into a hotel or whatever. You got a cheaper way to do it that's maybe funnier or more, makes a good point. And again, and they did, and I'm going, hey, great, because my job as the writer is just to make the narrative work. Make the magic. If you can make that magic, whatever that magic may be, you go like, okay, that's the reason. That's the reason it's happening. Which can be the toughest thing. The magic on skin crawlers was probably the hardest of the three to find. But I think someone from Shudder suggested something in that area, and we did some research. Paul found some research and said, "Oh yeah, there's some basis to this." I said, "Okay," and then it actually worked out really well because you got to see the reporter's head blow off, and
yeah. That was. I loved how the creature got killed in that episode. The irony of this creature that was sucking a fat on everybody got smushed with the candy bar machine. Like, he got killed by snacks. But
see, that's the great thing. What they do is that there are some things where they go, well, we can't afford to do this, but they come up with a clever answer. It forces them to be creative. In fact, coming up with a better solution than that case on the page. That was a better solution. But that's the kind of thing is that you kind of have to be in the space of the set to go, oh, there's a candy machine over there. Well, wait a minute. We could do this. Yeah, and that's kind of ironic. Yeah, it is.
They seem to do that a lot on Creepshow. There's like these little just so happen to be kind of moments like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's creative staging. I mean, I think the reverse draft of Subaraya, we had a thing where it was he's turning into the monster. He realized what's happening. He jumps out the window and splatters on the ground. They pick up his body and the blood looks like the painting. That was the first version of it. But what they figured out the ending was much better. And actually very surprised because it's that camera move from left to right behind Wade where the transformation of Subaraya happens and you go, what? So it's actually cooler the way they did it. But that's one of the things we just we kept going over that one little thing, trying to figure out the best way to figure it out. And then just by matter of the nature of what we can do and what we can do, a better solution was found, I think.
Right.
That I think it's very effective. And I mean, because there's a great thing is that when the creature is speared, you're going, oh, is the creature going to come alive and pull him in? We're thinking all the different possibilities, but none of them are the things that are going to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely thought he was going to jump out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it was the violence that he inflicted upon himself, I think, was more satisfying.
Right.
In a way that he had to put himself through the ultimate pain to avoid this.
Yeah.
In his mind.
Yeah. Yeah, he did kind of have to go, but it was good that he took this with him when he went.
Yeah.
He had that one last almost bit of redemption there, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he still sucked, but
he sucked. Yeah. He sucked.
But he did the right thing in the end.
He sucked completely.
Yeah. But anyways, hey, Steve, thanks for hanging out with us on the Stephen Crypto Show. It was fun chatting and hearing all these cool stories and learning stuff that we don't really get to hear about every day. We just watched the final product, but it's cool to hear about how it comes together.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you. Before we run, people listening, where's the best place to find you on social media so they could keep up on what you're working on?
S. Langford Scare on Twitter. That's the Stephen. Let me see. I'll look and see what it says here. Yeah, Stephen Langford at S. Langford Scare.
Yes, there you guys go. Follow him,
and I'll follow you back too.
And he'll follow you back. That's how we connected on Twitter. It was like I tweeted something about Creepshow, and I believe he followed me, and I looked at his profile and was like, writer on Creepshow, and this kind of snowballed from there. And here we are on the Stephen Crypto Show talking about Creepshow with one of the writers of some of my favorite episodes, actually. Especially, I love the Subaraya one.
Yeah,
the episode was cool, man. I loved it. But thank you. And
you're welcome.
Let's
thank you very much.
Chat again sometime down the road when your book comes out, or when you get that big sci-fi project together, and once that gets going, it will. Fingers crossed.
Okay, thanks.
Make it happen. Take care.
Bye.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, my victims. It is I, Malvolia, the Queen of Screams. You can see all my latest episodes on YouTube. And now you're listening to The Steve and Crypto Show.
Hey, we are back. Thank you to Stephen Langford for taking the time to tell us a little about his career and some interesting stuff that he might have in the works. Hopefully, he keeps going with Creepshow, because his episodes have been really good. Especially,
we hope to have him back on in the future.
Especially the recent one, the last Subaraya one, which was really cool. I did you catch in that scene? I don't know why it just resonated with me as like one of the coolest fucking scenes I've seen on Creepshow so far. Like after when they were like investigating the crime scene at the end, and like they pan by the window and the lightning flashes and you see like the outline, silhouette, and blood of the dude on the window. I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. I don't know, but anyways, Stephen Langford.
I really enjoy I'm sorry to interrupt. We didn't get to really talk about it with Stephen too much, but I really enjoy how they piece the show together. Sometimes like they'll just have the shot of an actual comic book open, and then you just hear the audio in the background. Like they're piecing a scene together without actually doing it, without like physically doing it.
Yeah.
But you're just kind of hearing the audio, like they're stepping in a room or doing this, doing that.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed that, and the colors too. Like when you brought up kind of the shot, in the window or whatever. Just like when they open the door and you see the Subaraya standing there, you see the colors in the background behind him that are usually in
like a comic book panel, but in like the real.
Exactly. Yeah. They still find a way to put those actual colors, like the bright color, from the comics in the show. And it's just really cool. Really
it's cool.
Fascinating.
I dig it. It's good, man.
Nerds like us take that kind of shit.
They got a good team putting that show together. I'm glad it's a thing, that's for sure. But Stephen Langford. We'll have a link to his Twitter, and go find him if you can. Like he said, he'll follow you back. He's super interactive. He's a nice guy. So go follow him. Visit our Buy Me a Coffee page, buymeacoffee.com/SteveCrypto. Show us some love there. Keep sharing the show on social media. Spread the word.
Make sure you head over to Fright Rags and pick up some of the Chucky gear, pick up some of the new Haddonfield gear, the reprints, all that. Go over there, just get you some pajamas, get it all. Use the code Crypto10. That's Crypto10. We'll save you a couple bucks at checkout.
That's fright-rags.com. Go check them out. And that's about it for this week. I think I'm going to go track down the ice cream truck and get me a Choco Taco and call it a day. So we've been to Stephen Crypto.
Give me some money!
We've been to the Stephen Crypto Show. Crypto is going to go try to get some money so he gets some ice cream too. But never mind. I'm not going to go into the Eddie Murphy bit. It's inappropriate. But I was gonna say, yeah, he's like he's on welfare and his dad's an alcoholic, and but anyways,
kids are assholes. Just rubbing that in.
Yes.
You ain't getting no ice cream.
Yep. Damn, that was a good. That whole stand-up special was good. But yes, we've been the Stephen Crypto Show. Thank you guys.
Thank you for listening. Go turn this off and go buy yourself a Choco Taco or maybe a Spider-Man popsicle.
There you go. Peace.